Independent watchmakers are the artisans who build fewer than 30 pieces a year, who spend 2,500 hours on a single watch, and whose creations sell for more at auction than timepieces from houses that have been in business for 2 centuries. This is the economics of independent horology and the story of how a handful of artisans are reshaping an industry worth $64 billion. The global luxury watch market sits at roughly $64 billion in 2025. It is dominated by conglomerates, Swatch Group, Richemont, LVMH, and Kering. These corporations control the vast majority of what ends up on your wrist. They have the marketing budgets, the celebrity ambassadors, and the retail networks spanning every major city on Earth. And yet, something fascinating has happened. In the auction rooms of Phillips and Christie's, in the private WhatsApp groups where serious collectors trade, and in the pages of every horological publication worth reading, the conversation has shifted. Independent watchmakers, many of them teams of fewer than 10 people, and members of the prestigious Académie Horlogère des Créateurs Indépendants, are commanding prices and attention that dwarf brands with centuries of heritage behind them. To understand how we got here, you need to know one man, George Daniels. Born in 1926 in Sunderland, England, and raised in genuine poverty, Daniels became what most historians now call the greatest watchmaker of the 20th century. He worked from a small studio on the Isle of Man, and he accomplished something almost no one else in the modern era has done. He made entire watches by hand, every single component, movement, case, dial, hands, everything. This process, roughly 2,500 hours per watch, spread over about a year, became known as the Daniels method. His philosophy was brutally simple. If you cannot make it, you do not understand it. Daniels drew his inspiration from Abraham Louis Breguet, the 18th century master who established the foundation of modern horology. Over his lifetime, Daniels hand-built 23 pocket watches and just 2 wristwatches. That's it. 25 watches total. Today, 6 of them have each sold for more than $1.5 million, with individual pocket watches reaching $4 to $5 million at auction. His legacy continues through Roger Smith, the only watchmaker personally trained by Daniels to carry forward the Daniels method. But Daniels' most important contribution wasn't a watch, it was an idea. In 1974, he invented the coaxial escapement, the first practical new escapement in over 250 years. He took it to Patek Philippe. They told him it wouldn't work. He came back with a working example in a pocket watch. They said it was too big for a wristwatch. He came back with it in a wristwatch. They said it was too thick. It took until 1999 for Omega to finally license the invention, and it now sits in millions of watches worldwide. The story of Patek's repeated rejection of Daniels captures something essential about the independent watchmaking ethos. These are people who create what they believe represents horological excellence, not what focus groups say will sell. Philippe Dufour embodies this perhaps more than anyone alive. Often called the greatest living watchmaker, Dufour opened his own workshop in 1978 in the Vallée de Joux. In 1992, he stunned the industry by presenting the first Grande Sonnerie wristwatch at Baselworld, a chiming complication of extraordinary complexity made entirely by one man. Asian collectors went mad for it. But it's the simplicity that made Dufour a legend among collectors. Launched in 2000 with a retail price between 48,000 and 64,000 Swiss francs, only about 206 examples were ever produced over a roughly 12-year span. That's around 15 watches per year. About 120 of them went to Japan, making global availability almost non-existent. The market responded accordingly. A simplicity that originally retailed for under 65,000 francs now trades for over $700,000 on the secondary market. A unique butterfly wing marquetry version fetched over $1.3 million. And the Dufour Duality No. 8 sold for 3.66 million Swiss francs at Philips in November 2021. 40 times the original retail price. The economics are staggering. Then there is François-Paul Journy. Born in Marseille in 1957, an admittedly unruly child sent to technical college at 14, Journy graduated from the Paris Watchmaking School in 1976 and founded his brand in 1999. His watches are inscribed with the Latin phrase "invenit et facit." He invented it and made it. On his decision to go independent, Journe famously said he was fed up giving pearls to swine. Journe is the only three-time winner of watchmaking's highest honor, the Aiguille d'Or at the Grand Prix d'Horlogerie de Genève, cementing his status among the horological elite. Journe's operation is the closest thing independent watchmaking has to a scaled business, and even then, it produces only about 900 to 1,000 mechanical pieces per year. He has achieved something remarkable: vertical integration at a micro scale. Throughout the 2010s, he acquired his own dial maker, Les Cadraniers de Genève, and his own case manufacturer, Les Boîtiers de Genève, giving him control over roughly 95% of component production. Every movement is crafted in 18-karat rose gold, a first in watchmaking. His is also the only major manufacturer still based in central Geneva proper. In 2018, Chanel purchased a 20% stake, providing capital while preserving Journe's total creative independence. And the numbers tell the story. At auction in 2025, FP Journe achieved 176% of high estimates across the season, outperforming Cartier, Vacheron Constantin, and even Patek Philippe. And then there's the youngest star in this firmament, Recep Recepi. Born in 1987 in a small village called Jager in Kosovo, he moved to Geneva at 12 to join his father. At 15, he began an apprenticeship at Patek Philippe. By 2007, he had moved to FP Journe, where he was entrusted with assembling the most complicated timepieces. In 2012, at just 25, he founded Acrivia. Today, Acrivia produces fewer than 30 watches per year with a team of 7 people, including Recep's brother and his wife, who manages the business side. His chronometer Contemporain Eye, which originally retailed for under $70,000, sold at Philips Hong Kong for the equivalent of $924,000. He is 38 years old. His unique pieces have made appearances at the only watch charity auction, where independent watchmakers debut some of their most innovative work. So, what makes the economics work? 3 forces converge. First, scarcity. Not artificial scarcity, not manufactured waiting lists, but genuine physical limitation. When one person or a tiny team makes every component by hand, production is naturally constrained. Second, authenticity. In a market increasingly skeptical of corporate luxury, collectors are gravitating toward watchmakers whose names are literally on the dial because they literally made the watch. And third, investment performance. Independent watches have outperformed conglomerate brands on the secondary market consistently, with pre-owned values for top independents holding strong even as the broader market experienced what Chrono24's chairman called a post-pandemic price reckoning. The pre-owned market itself has exploded to 25 billion Swiss francs in 2024, nearly matching the entire new watch market. And within that space, independents punch far above their weight. But there are real questions here. Are we in a bubble? Before 2018, secondary market prices for independent watches typically sat at 1 to 2 times retail. By 2021, some models hit 5 to 7 times retail. Prices have cooled from those peaks, but they remain dramatically higher than historical norms. The introduction of United States tariffs on Swiss watches in 2025 has added even more uncertainty, squeezing retail margins in the world's second largest luxury market. Yet the deeper trend seems structural, not speculative. Consumers in 2025 are favoring authenticity and craftsmanship over ostentation. Women now account for 35% of luxury watch purchases. And perhaps most tellingly, the market is not merely valuing independent brands, it is accelerating its preference for them relative to conglomerate alternatives, even as those conglomerates report margin compression. Kari Voutilainen once said he dreamed of selling 2 or 3 watches a year when he first started. Today, he runs one of the most respected independent operations in Switzerland. That gap between dream and reality tells the story of this entire movement, from George Daniels making every screw by hand on the Isle of Man, to Recep Recepi assembling masterpieces with his brother in Geneva. Independent horology is not just surviving in a $64 billion industry, it is defining what that industry aspires to be.